All right, our next guests, in my opinion, define an emerging breed of music retailer. This company sells $2 million a year in guitars using little more than third-party platforms like Reverb. And even though they're headquartered in Texas, they have a customer base that extends all the way to Israel and Japan. Let's find out how they do it. Please welcome Scott and Monique Robbins of G-Brat Guitars. Scott and Monique, come on out. Now, we actually called Reverb and said, who do you think is doing the best job out there? And they said, these guys. So that's how we found you. Come on out. All right, so G Brats, funny name, funny logo. It is. It's, like I say, people know you by your logo more than the actual name. How did you start this thing? Was it just some genius move you thought about for years, then finally pulled the trigger on?
Well, it's a crazy story, actually. You know, I've been in all kinds of sales throughout my life, and this business actually started as almost an accident. We had a car to sell, and when the guy came out to look at the car, we talked guitars. He's a musician, and we found out that he said, "Look, I can't afford this thing." So he ended up just leaving. He couldn't afford the car.
So why did he come out and look at it?
I don't know.
He was hoping you might.
About an hour later, he calls back and says, "Look, I got this Brazilian rosewood classical guitar and $5,000." And I looked at my wife, and I'm like, wow, we should do that. So we did the deal, and on the way back from doing the deal, I said to her, it just sparked the idea. I said, instead of taking the $5,000 and paying off a credit card, why don't we go ahead and buy a couple of guitars and try to turn it for a profit?
And I was like, ooh.
Well, I'm going to get this Jack and the Beanstalk thing, some beans here, we're going to turn them into...
Right, and I was like, I don't know if that's responsible.
So you bought some more guitars?
Yeah, so we took the $5,000, we bought a couple guitars, and I was working my full-time job in the corporate world, which you're paying the bills with. And we turned the 2 guitars into 4, and then the 4 into 8, and the 8 into 16. And at the end of a year, I was making more money selling guitars than I was in the corporate world. Wow. And they let me go by coincidence. I said, I guess I'm a guitar shop now. So that was 2004, and here we are 14 years later, and business is just amazing.
So what allowed that to happen? I mean, technology obviously was changing at that time, but it allowed you to do that, to be able to open a business in that way. What were the things that all kind of came together, in your opinion?
Well, we were kind of trying to create the wheel. I don't have a business education. I've just had my experiences in my career that everything culminated and kind of worked together. Advertising and sales, and my love of guitar, number one. I've been playing guitar since 1969, and I have a passion for it. Yeah. And I happen to be neurotic and meticulous, and we want to stand out. I realized quickly that it's a big sea of competitors out there in this market. Yeah. And if you're gonna sell guitars, you can't just be you can't blend in. Yeah. You got to do something to stand out. And we quickly realized that. It's like when you buy a used car, the car is not dirty and filthy with the muffler hanging off. They take time, they prep it, they make it look good, and they present it. The presentation is huge. Yeah. And that's what we do. I'll take every guitar myself, I'll test it out, make sure it's working, I'll polish it up, I'll make it look great, and then I'll take pictures under photo lighting, darken out the background, and so by the time it hits the internet, it looks pristine. Yeah. It's really nice.
I mean, the evolution of this, I can only imagine, was very slow in a way, because you're adapting to all this, and the family's adapting to this, and you're running it out of your home. And so, I mean, when you think about that kind of
this
volume.
Thing right here, I got to tell you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You think of this volume and think, oh, you must have a staff of 20, a big shipping distribution system. It's the home. So how did this disrupt your life? I mean, your home life?
Well, he started it in our bedroom. So we had guitars all in our bedroom with a table, photo lights. We had computers, desk, kitchen, and in our dining room. And we were broke. We had no money, and we didn't go anywhere to borrow money. We just did it right from there, and we just kept growing, and that was it.
It's an understanding lady right here.
Yeah.
To wake up and see just guitars against the walls in the bedroom is kind of goofy, but keep her.
Yeah.
I just figured, he had an idea, let's go with it, and we couldn't couldn't go down any farther.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of it too. You're starting with no overhead, basically, right? A low overhead and
That's the
just
beauty of it.
pure passion to see it grow. And make some mistakes along the way, I'm guessing.
Yeah, mistakes hurt, and I'm not very accepting of them. Well, you learn, and it's my paid education. When you make a mistake and you lose some money, which doesn't happen very often. When it does, next time you go, well, I'm not going to do that again. We're going to go to different routes.
Yeah. Selling on the internet obviously was one of the biggest transitions that occurred. Interesting to see what the Supreme Court ruling will do. But this vehicle allowed you to acquire guitars and sell guitars online. How did you approach that? There's a distance now between you and the customer. You had to develop relationship, you had to develop trust. How did you approach that? Because like you say, there's a sea of competitors out there in that way. How did you stand out knowing that you would likely not meet most of the people you sell to?
Yeah, that's a good question. The whole prospect of buying a guitar online, you're paying somebody a lot of money that you've never met for a guitar you've never touched.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of scary stuff going on.
Trust.
Yeah,
A lot of us have trust issues. But
I'm going to send this guy $5,000. Well, let's just hope that this is for real.
Yeah.
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have a reputation. You've got to build a reputation. And you've got to be honest. You've got to be over the top honest. And, between Reverb and, I don't want to say the other name, but on eBay, we've got a perfect reputation on many, many deals. And people can go through and read all the comments, and very consistent comments right across the board about good service, quick shipping, accurately described, that kind of thing. So you've got your reputation. That is number one. Number two is you got to take good pictures.
Absolutely.
If you don't take good pictures, my favorite guitar to buy online is when you see a guitar that is in poor lighting next to a dirty laundry, because I know that this guy is just
has no clue.
There's no presentation at all, and I'm eager to buy that guitar because I know it's a great guitar, and I know I can present it and probably sell it for $1,000 more than he's trying to sell it for. So it's kind of the way that works. But
you had mentioned that people can tell a G Brat's guitar online just by the photo.
Yeah, we have certain angles.
And the angles.
Yep. I also want to mention too, we started out as Guitar Brat 1 as our handle, and then as we became that business, that's how we changed our name to G Brats Guitars. And then my lovely wife came up with the little guitar smashing logo. I wish she had a screen to show it on, which I'm very proud of. It's the kind of thing where we'll do trade shows, and we'll take all of our gear in a trailer and go to the other side of the country and set up, and I'll be talking to somebody and I'll say, have you ever heard of G Brats guitars? And they'll say, no, I'm sorry, I haven't. I said, well, and I'll point to the logo. Oh, that logo. Yeah, we bought 3 guitars from you. So
branding.
Kudos to her for creating a logo that really sticks in people's minds. It makes a difference.
So, the idea of just absolutely being trustworthy, I think that is the secret sauce in that way if you're going to have that relationship. And one of the things I thought was interesting as I looked at your site is how meticulous you are about pointing out everything that's wrong. We've been taught in sales forever to accentuate look at this, it's going to make you thinner and more beautiful. We talk about all the great things about something you're trying to sell. You go out of your way to point out every conceivable flaw. How is that played into?
Not every,
well,
but honest.
There is a certain amount of you want to sell the sizzle, and they're great guitars. There's no question about it. I don't sell junk. I won't buy it if it's junk. So there's nothing to hide as far as that is concerned. I think if you're selling in person, you can do more of the, try not to pay attention to the flaws. But online, you want to make sure people they know what they're getting up front. They're going to find out anyway, so why try to hide it?
Yeah.
That is a recipe for a bad reputation. You're going to get bad feedback if you're not going to tell the things that are wrong with the instrument that you're selling. So, sometimes I'll do YouTube videos when they're requested, and I'll actually go through the whole guitar. My wife will video, and I'll say, you got a nick here and a ding there. And so by the time they're getting this thing, they know exactly what they're getting, and there's no question. And they're weighing the cost. And if they don't buy it, that's fine. I'd rather them not buy it, but no.
Well, the reality is they'll find out anyway. Like you say, it's an instantaneous reaction one way or the other.
Exactly.
And you get one shot at it.
Exactly.
And that reputation is everything.
I wanted to remind you to tell them what happened last night with somebody who actually returned a guitar and what you said. Because it's really important because, as a business owner, it's really hard when people actually, return merchandise. And some people will actually keep the merchandise for like 6 months and say, oh, I want to return it. And my husband will be like this inside, but he won't react like that.
Well, we do, we have a return policy, and no, they can't return a guitar after, months of having it.
Yeah.
We have a window of time that we offer. But, he was wanting to return a guitar, and I said, well, what's funny is one person will get the guitar, and he'll feel like it's just not working for him.
Oh, they found the logo.
They found the logo.
Oh, thank you, guys. And these guys are amazing around here. So one guy will get it, and he'll say, oh, I'm just not gelling with it. There's nothing wrong with the guitar. It's just not working for him, And that's why they make so many guitars, And then I'll sell that same guitar to somebody else, and they'll send me a note saying, this is the greatest thing I've ever played in my life.
Exactly.
So it's just a matter of compatibility between the player and the instrument, It's like driving a car. Some people like driving an Audi. Some people like driving a Porsche, Corvette, whatever, And different strokes for different folks.
Well, like I say, back to the reputation, then there were probably times when you made returns that probably hurt. I mean, when you're looking at every penny, but you looked at it as an investment, I guess. I mean, you were saying one time you had to return something, and it's like, oh, I know that guy's wrong. I know this is not us, it's him, but you did it anyway.
It's happening right now, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Things like that happen.
And how do you roll
It's okay.
with it?
It's okay. It's just one of those things where it's a big world, and it's going to sell anyway. Like I said, these are great instruments. So taking instruments back and refunding money is just part of the industry. It's going to happen. But I think our success rate and satisfaction, people are very happy with the instruments they get. And that's my bottom line. I'll tell you this, there are people, especially internationally, that they save up their money, they dream of getting some of the guitar, getting a guitar like this. And
it's a life achievement for these people.
Yeah, they've been watching their favorite guitar players for their whole life playing on this particular guitar, and then they have the opportunity to buy it, and I ship it to them. And when they get it, they're incredibly grateful. And I love getting an email from a grateful client where they just like, wow, you've made my dreams come true.
What is it about human nature? We tend to forget those, and we only remember the bad ones sometimes. It's like, we got to remember those good ones,
Right.
I think as retailers, a lot of us, we all can relate to the times when we tried to dig our heels in on the moral grounds and say, we're right here. Darn it, I'm going to... Real smart guy once told me there are few things in life worth dying over. Damn few. And know the difference. And so many times we get caught up in the wrong battles. And it's like, let it go, take care of the customer. And just, absolutely, paradoxically, they become your best spokespeople sometime, especially on an online world. Then they become, say, hey, this guy took totally great care of me. And you're going under your breath going, that jerk. You totally screwed me up.
Never say
but
that
I mean,
they're all wonderful.
It's an interesting battlefield you're on, the cyber world of reputation. It is a secret sauce, and to have that is everything. And
that's
guard
the
it
thing.
jealously,
Yeah, I protect my reputation jealously. I mean, if you Google my name on the internet, you'll see nothing but positive comments, and I take it very personally. Maybe to a fault, but want the people that do business with us to be happy. That's the bottom line. So.
The opportunities are actually endless. He's actually taught his model what he's learned over the years to our daughter. Our daughter is now doing it to both of our sons, which they were doing it, but our daughter is doing it.
In different products, or just
No, same thing. I'm
They're
just
doing
going
the
to teach.
same
Wow.
thing.
Very clever.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, someday
it's
I wanna-
open. It's actually it is an open market.
Yeah. And easy, it's not easy, low barrier of entry in some ways, I guess, and you're the living proof of that. Okay, so then after all the success, did I get it right that you're actually now moving into brick and mortar in a way? You're actually opening up something?
Well, not technically speaking, but we're going to probably build a showroom off of our house. Right now, it's kind of funny. I've got this image of having these amazing guitars, and people have this image of this, wow, this is G-Brat's guitars. I can only imagine what this setup looks like, and it is the funniest thing in the world. If you came out to my place and you looked in this little bedroom that is like 15 by 15, and guitars are just stacked in this room, it's funny and a little bit embarrassing, frankly. Because if somebody comes locally, I don't want to take them into that room. It just kind of, whoa, really? This is what you got going on?
You've built up this mystique.
So we're building a showroom, and it's gonna be really nice. People can come out and actually walk into this room and have a boutique experience. You sit on a couch and plug in, and that whole.
But by appointment, because we talked about retail
by
hours.
appointment
We
only.
Don't like those, out to working Christmas Eve kind of stuff.
No, well, maybe. I don't know. When you're in this business, you don't sleep. I've had a call from Australia once at 3 in the morning. Hey, mate, I want to buy a Les Paul. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, like when you said you were on vacation down the Caribbean and you're just selling 3 guitars.
It kind of hacks her off at times, but it's like that's why we're on vacation.
It's true.
Well, I mean,
We were floating around the Caribbean, and I sold 7 guitars one week.
So I mean, the idea that it's we all talk about retail being just it's all consuming, right? I mean, it's just but at the same time, you could say you have more freedom in this model, but you're still always on. You're never really off.
Hey, you got your cell phone on you. It's a 24/7 thing.
Yeah,
it's a big world.
Yeah. So you having fun with it?
I've learned to adapt.
Is this
that?
If you look back on it now, is it? Could you have imagined it would turn out this way and have so much fun doing it?
I can't believe it. I'm sitting on the stage and I can't believe it. I'm like, how did I get here? This is bizarre.
How did we get here, Sketch?
In this great industry, you get to find a way. And I think that's just part of what we're talking about this morning, is there's no wrong or right. There's so many ways to try and make this work,
Yeah.
if you take care of the customer.
Yes, and I think one of his favorite lines to tell people when he's online is, if you need to ask permission from anybody's wife, ask my wife.
Yeah.
She always says yes.
She says it's okay. Here, put her on.
Yeah, wives are the enemy most of the time. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are expensive purchases, and as my wife always reminds me, we usually talk about those first.
Yeah, the expensive thing. It's funny. One of my favorite slogans is, "A wise man once told me, when you buy the best, you only cry once."
Yes.
And I live by that.
Yep.
So,
pay the price.
We sell high-end guitars, and they're great. You're not going to be disappointed.
Yep.
So.
Pay the money. That's what I always say. That's what the money's for. Buy what you want. All right, you guys have been great, man. I know you were kind of nervous about coming out here and saying, how am I going to talk about it? Let's hear it for these guys. G Brat's guitars. Were they fantastic or what?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Scott. Thank you, Monique.
Thank
See you
you.
later, man. Thank you so much.